Let's recap the games from Monday. In the NBA, there were 8 of them on. We go through waiver wire trends, all that stuff. It's coming up. Michael Bolton.
Thanks, Josh. It's Michael Bolton here, and it's time for another episode of the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Let's get to it.
Let's get to it, indeed.
You are Locked On Fantasy Basketball, your daily fantasy basketball podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Fantasy Basketball Podcast, brought to you by Basketball Monster. My name is Josh Lloyd, and I'm something of a scientist myself. I'm also the lead fantasy analyst at basketballmonster.com, and you can find me on Twitter, as always, at redrock_bball, on TikTok at redrock_bball, and on Instagram at Locked On Fantasy Basketball. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and enter the code, all lowercase, LockedOnNBA, for a first deposit match up to $100. Thank you also for making Locked On Fantasy Basketball your first listen every day. We are free. We are available on all platforms. Be a double banger. Go and listen on audio and watch on YouTube. It's easy to do. Hit the subscribe when you're over here on the video side. Hit the thumbs up. Leave your comments as well. And of course, follow the show along on the audio platforms as well. We are here to talk about the NBA first day of 2024. There were 8 games on. Some very interesting things. The debut of the recently traded players. We're going to get to all of that very, very soon. But let's just get straight into talking about what we need to talk about. Start off with some news. Deandre Ayton, the Blazers are on a 12-day road trip here. So it's almost 2 weeks they're on the road, and Ayton is not with the team. That does not mean at this point that Ayton is out for all of those games. But he is back in Portland rehabbing. They've got this game today, and then 2 more coming up against Dallas. And then they've got a Sunday, I think it's Sunday-Tuesday combination in New York against the Nets and the Knicks. I would doubt that he joins them for the Dallas portion, but I could see him meeting up with them in New York, depending on how it's going. So just be aware, this isn't, I don't think, going to be just this one-day thing for DeAndre Ayton. We also got somewhat of an update on Mark Williams. Of course, the Hornets will probably just continue to list him doubtful, but we heard from the man himself today saying, yeah, he's making progress, but it's really slow, still no timetable to return. So I'm going to suggest that Mark Williams is out for the rest of this week, but of course, they won't give us anything more exact than that, but at least it's something. Just wait for the new doubtful tag to come out tomorrow. We also got the update from Zach LaVine. That's a little bit better for the skater boy. He is back with the G League team. He is practicing, and if everything goes okay, he could be back in action towards the end of this week. So a positive update there for Zach LaVine. Not so much for Mark Williams, but at least we heard something. And a little bit of clarification there also on DeAndre Ayton. Let's look at some waiver wire trends as well over the last 24 hours. Who have been the most added players and most dropped players? Number 1 on that list was Donte DiVincenzo. He is up 23%. We'll talk more about him in the next game later. Aaron Nesmith up 12. Kelly Olynyk up 10. Well, you just never know what you're going to get with him. Gary Trent up 7, which was a curious decision, given that Trent had started the last couple of games, but we knew that they were getting Barrett and Quickley back. So I'm not sure I would have. I know. I do know. I definitely wouldn't have rushed to add Trent. He was very much trending towards being a drop. And yeah, we'll talk about that later. So that was a weird one. People obviously reacted really strongly to the big Nazareth Reed game, the Wizard of Noz. He was big last time out and then went back to nothing today. So I'm imagining he might get dropped. And people are adding Draymond Green. I don't know when Draymond's coming back. There is some possibility it's the end of this week, but also the comment from Steve Kerr today about their starting lineup, where he said that he is going to start the same starting lineup for a while, which does not include Draymond Green, was very interesting. So does that mean that Draymond will come off the bench? Does that mean that Draymond's suspension isn't ending anytime soon? I don't know. But interesting that everyone... I agree with adding Draymond, don't get me wrong. I think it's okay to add him now. We just don't know, though. Just interesting today that there was a spike in Draymond's roster percentage. In terms of the most dropped players, Rui Hachimura down with a calf injury, down with also being not good. He's 22% dropped. Paul Reed has dropped in 15% with Joel Embiid returning. Old Bubbles himself, Julian Champagny down 13%. I get it, but they do play the Tuesday-Thursday combo, and not many teams do, so not sure. I probably would have, but yeah, you didn't have to. I definitely wouldn't have dropped Jeremy Sohan. I know he wasn't very good last game, but you've got to pay more attention to what's going on with the schedule. While he might not be very good, there are 2 teams that play Tuesday-Thursday. The Spurs and the Warriors. So unless you were dropping him for a Trace Jackson-Davis, and I don't imagine that's happening in 11% of leagues, then I don't know that that's all that smart. Same as dropping Eric Gordon. Yes, Eric Gordon scored 0 points on Sunday. You know what that doesn't mean? That he was going to score 0 points on Monday. And if you drop someone in the middle of a back-to-back, you don't actually gain any extra. You don't gain any extra games played. So what's the point of it? Yes, some of these people, and you might be in this situation. You'll drop in the comments. I actually dropped him because I needed to activate Kawhi off IL. That's totally good. Like, we understand that. I just don't think that's the case in 10% of all fantasy leagues. I don't think that's the case. Or everyone, better drop Eric Gordon because I've got someone really important coming off injured reserve today. It just feels like he played poorly, so we've got to drop him. When you've just got to pay more attention to how the schedule works. Dayron Sharp down 10%. Yeah, he didn't have a very good game either. But again, all of his games leading up to that had been really solid. The Nets play again tomorrow. Maybe we use Sharp there. Maybe we don't. But there are, again, maybe he was just a Sunday stream guy. I get that. But there are maybe some slight overreactions, I would say, there in some of those dropped players lists. Let's actually get in now and talk about the games played on Monday. The first one was the early one. We had the Minnesota Timberwolves taking on the New York Knickerbockers in that first game with OG Anunoby there. And there he is. We'll talk about the Knicks in a second. The Knicks win at 112-106 for the Wolves. Edwards played 38 minutes, 35, 4 and 2, 2 blocks, 9 of 10 from the line. We love. While Towns had 29 and 6, a little bit of foul trouble for Townsy with 3 threes, but overall a strong game. They also popped Jordan McLaughlin back into the rotation ahead of Shake Milton, which is interesting. Don't really need to do much with that. While Conley had 5 with 5 assists, Gobert played 38 minutes and had 10 and 15, and another stinker from Jaden McDaniels.
Get that garbage out of here!
8 points, 1 steal, 1 block, 25%. We have got ample bucket loads of evidence that Jaden McDaniels is not really a guy that can accumulate stats that mean anything for us in standard fantasy leagues. So you do not need to roster him. Kyle Anderson, 17 minutes, and as I said, the Wizard of Oz, Naz Reid, played 19 minutes for 5 points. He had been trending down. Last game, he was really good, and now back to being down. You don't have to roster Kyle Anderson. In fact, I would actively suggest you drop Kyle Anderson, and I just don't think you need to be holding on to Reid. They're sort of moving away from going with him entirely in all of those minutes behind Towns and Gobert. Like 19 minutes is just not enough. It probably needs to be 24 for me to consider him a 12-team league player. For the Knicks, like I said, first game of OG Anunoby, he played 35 minutes before fouling out. And my general idea behind Anunoby joining the Knicks was, I think it's going to be relatively the same. There were times he looked a little bit disinterested in Toronto, and maybe that improves. And he had 17 and 6 with 3 threes. He had a steal. He fouled out in 35 minutes, so he probably would have played 38. He's just sort of the same guy. We still hope for a consistent improvement in percentages. We still hope for a consistent improvement in steals, and that might come. But I'm not sure that there's this big bump or big drop because he joined the Knicks. I hope that something jumps, but game one would suggest maybe not. Brunson, 41 minutes, probably too many. 16, 4 and 14 with 2 steals on 22% shooting, while Randall had 39 and 9 with no other stats and horrible from the line, but some good counters from some of those guys. But let's talk about, again, a couple of things. Isaiah Hartenstein played 39 minutes, only 7 points, but 9 boards, 3 assists, 3 steals, 3 blocks. Very clearly a must-roster player. And I noticed that a lot of people ran to pick up the big sneeze Precious Achiuwa.
Get that garbage out of here!
If you are someone who aligns with my view of basketball and watches basketball the same way as me or takes my opinion on things seriously, I told you that Precious is terrible. I told you that Tom Thibodeau would hate him, and game one, I'm correct. We will see where that leads from here, but there is absolutely, in my opinion, zero justification to have Precious Achiuwa rostered in a 12-team league. None. Probably not even 14. He, just to me, is bad. And Tom is not going to be pumping minutes into him ahead of Hartenstein. And I do think, and again, we all have different opinions and ways that we view the game, but there are generally people out there who think that they are both the same level of player, Achiuwa and Hartenstein, or plenty of people who think that Achiuwa is better. And I just can't view it that way. And I guess me and Tom have got more alike than we thought. Going bald and a great view on Precious Achiuwa. 0 points for Precious in 9 minutes. You can very, very comfortably, I believe, jack him in 10, 12, and probably 14-team leagues. Last game, we saw Dante DiVincenzo with a huge role, but that was before Anunoby and Achiuwa arrived. It was a little bit muted here, 26 minutes for him. 15 points, 2 threes, a steal, a block. You still want to roster him, but it's not going to be huge stuff. Same as Josh the Hitman Hart, who had 8 and 11 in 29 minutes, and Grimes went from 12 minutes to 18 minutes and had 10 points. So we're still looking at DiVincenzo and Hart in 12s, but that might not stick. If they're going to play 26 and 28 minutes, That's not enough, most likely. Yes, losing the 23 minutes from Quickley is important, but we might see 3 of those go to Hart and 4 of them go to DiVincenzo and 7 of them go to Grimes, and then 7 of them went to McBride here as well. So we'll see how that all develops. But at the moment, Dante and Hart, we're holding. Hart and Sean, obviously, we're rostering. And just in case you weren't clear, we are not rostering Precious Achiuwa. Today's episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy sports made easy. It's also the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. It's the easiest and the most exciting way to play DFS as well. It's not you up against thousands of people with lineups and spreadsheets and all that sort of stuff. It's not you up against the pros who are there all day just trying to take your money. Up on PrizePicks is everyone can win because they just chuck out a player projection and you go more or less. That's all you need to do. Points or rebounds or steals, you look at the player, look at the number, and you choose more or less. Between 2 to 6 of those goes into a lineup, and you can win up to 25 times your entry fee back. Multiple sports, easy to do. Also, their reboot policy. If someone gets hurt in the first half of football and basketball and doesn't return in the second half, well, that player just gets rebooted. It's the only daily fantasy sports platform that has that injury insurance policy. So, go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA and use the code LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. That is prizepicks.com/LockedOnNBA. The code is LockedOnNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks is daily fantasy sports made easy. Okay, we should go into the second game of the day, and this was the other team. It was so good of the schedule makers to put things in the schedule this way. We got the Raptors hosting the Cleveland Cavaliers, and some very interesting things here as well. But we're going to start with Cleveland. Toronto wins at 124-121. Don Mitchell, 38 minutes, 26, 7 and 7 with 4 steals. Rough shooting, but good overall otherwise. And LeVert, only 29 minutes. I feel like his knee is really limiting him, but 31, 4 and 4. Karis LeVert remains a must-roster points league player. He's a top 100 guy on the season. That's very clear. Must-roster 12-teamer, 10-teamer even. In category leagues, I do think you want him, but it is a little bit more iffy. Also, we talked about this on the Waiver Wire show that a lot of people were adding Craig Porter. As much as I love Craig, you don't need to be having him at all.
Get that garbage out of here.
6 minutes for 0 points, while Max Strus is really slumping. Outside the top 150 over the last 2 weeks, outside the top 110 for the season. He had 6 points with 6 rebounds, a steal, and a block, and 29%. And of late, it's been Miami Max Strus, which has not been a 12-team league player. Now, the reason I'll hold is he's getting a ton of minutes, and there's no Garland and Mobley. But I do feel that when those players return, we might not be holding on to Strus for the season or for the playoffs in fantasy. We might not. It's not looking good. I think you can look at Isaac Okoro in 14-teamers, 16 points for him with 2 steals in the block. He's actually playing just so much better at the moment. And him and Strus, actually, over the last 2 weeks, have been roughly equivalent in their overall production. While Jarrett Allen had 16 and 11 in his 34 minutes. For the Raptors, they immediately went with the lineup that I thought they would go to, maybe not straight up, but eventually. Quickly started alongside Scott Barnes, alongside RJ Barrett, Pascal Siakam, and Jakob Poeltl. Let's address the Jakob Poeltl thing. There were people who suggested Precious Achiuwa being traded would lead to more Jakob Poeltl minutes, and I said I'm not sure that's the case. And my reason was very clear. In the 2 games prior to the trade, Precious Achiuwa had played 7 non-garbage time minutes total across 2 games, and Jakob Poeltl had played 21 and 22 minutes in those games. So when Achiuwa did not play, Poeltl's minutes did not change. They were actually lower. They didn't move at all. And I thought, okay, so moving Achiuwa out of there when Darko had him sitting on the bench and didn't use him would make me think, okay, well, they're not going to increase Poeltl's minutes. But Jakob played 37 here. I'm all for Jakob Poeltl playing those minutes. I like Jakob Poeltl as a player. I never understood the low minutes tied to the contract in the trade. It never made any sense to me, especially when the other guy was Precious Achiuwa or Chris Boucher. What's the point? But now, that's big minutes 2 in a row. I try to use as much logic as I can on this show and assess the rotations and the trajectories and the trends of coaches with excruciating minutiae. And sometimes logic just goes straight out the window, which is exactly what happened here. And it appears that I was wrong. I will just put one thing out there quickly. They changed their bench rotation. Like Boucher and Thad Young were the backup centers. They played 13 minutes only, and Jalen McDaniels was taken out completely. I thought that with that extra player arriving here in Barrett and Quickley with 2-for-1 deal, really, because Achiuwa was out of the rotation, that I thought they'd go smaller a little bit more, and that would limit Poeltl. But no, they did not. Siakam played 40 minutes. That's 3 in a row, 40-minute games for Pascal. 36 and 5 with 5 triples, while Barnesy had 20 and 6, a triple one. Bad from the field, bad from the line. That's not great for Barnes. I was marginally worried that he would lose a little bit of usage here. We will see how that goes. But so far, what was his usage in this game? 23%, while Siakam's at 24%. So about the same. Let's talk about the two new arrivals. RJ Barrett started, played 29 minutes and had 9, 10, and 9. And there is a very common thing that is out there, and I do get this. He's back in Canada now. He'll feel more comfortable. Maybe he can figure it out. He's still young, blah, blah, blah. I just don't buy it. I need to see it for an extended period of time. And even this game, people will look and go, well, look, he had 9, 10, and 9, Josh, first game back. Yeah, that's true. He hit 1 3, had 1 assist, had 0 steals, 0 blocks. Was still 75% from the line, which is below average. He did shoot well, 50%, but I just don't buy it. He has been the same player basically every single season, including in college. A low steals, blocks, rebounds, assists, threes volume player with iffy percentages. And that is not a good category league player. For points leagues, it is more useful. The thing that I actually look at in this game and go, oh, only 29 minutes. That's not good. I thought he might play 33. So I actually look at this and go, that's actually probably bad that you only played 29. But others, again, will look at it more positive. Right? Look at that, 19 points, really great start. So, different views. As for Immanuel Quickley, you might say it's a little bit underwhelming, and I get that. But he started first game out, played 28 minutes, had 14 and 6, 2 threes and 2 steals. Shot only 39%, wasn't great from the line. But let me just assure you of one thing. I fully believe that Immanuel Quickley is a must-roster player without any hesitation whatsoever, and I'll tell you why. He started this game and he had picked up his 4th foul basically at the beginning of the second quarter. So, of course, his coach fouled him out of the game because Quickley didn't play for the rest of that first half. He started the second half, played 4 minutes, got subbed out. He ended with 28 minutes, came back in at the end, the start of the fourth quarter, played the entire fourth quarter, I believe, but finished with 4 fouls. So his coach fouled him out. He would have been on track to play 35, 36 minutes, I think. There's no way he would have played only 4 minutes in the third quarter and about 2 minutes in the second quarter. That just wouldn't have been the rotation pattern. So this 14, 6, and 3, you'll go 28 minutes, yeah, it's a timeshare with Schroeder and Trent if you only just looked at the box score. But I'm here to tell you that is not how this went. Schroeder played 30 minutes, had 12, 3, and 8. Look, that's okay, but again, if Quickley's going to play 7 more minutes, they can't really come from the centers. They're probably going to come from Schroeder and Trent. I'm okay with holding Dennis, but I'd be very quick to jack Gary Trent.
Get that garbage out of here.
9 points in 26 minutes, 30% shooting. He needs big usage. He needs a big role, and he doesn't have it. So see you later. But a very interesting beginning to the career for RJ Barrett and Immanuel Quickley up there in Toronto. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook. The NFL season is regular season is wrapping up, so there's still time to get on the action though with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 in bonus bets, win or lose. It doesn't have to be a moneyline bet. You don't have to win it. You just got to place it. And then you get $150 back in those bonus bets. The app is so easy to use, and there's so many different ways to bet. Money lines, spreads, totals, and you wouldn't read about it, parlays. Yeah, they've got a live same-game parlay situation going on. They've got a parlay hub where actually the name describes it perfectly because it's the parlay hub. You can go actually in there and make parlays, and you can also find the best way to find popular parlays right in the parlay hub. So parlay your way onto FanDuel, use the $150 in bonus bets, and use our code, FanDuel.com/lockedon. You can get in there, make your first bet a layup. FanDuel's also an official partner of the NFL, and don't forget to gamble responsibly. Let's go into the next one after those first 2 games, which are probably the 2 more interesting games of the day. But this one, the Indiana Pacers on the road, get a big win over the Bucks, 122-113. Starting lineup remained the same for the Pacers with Buddy Hield coming off the bench, and he stinks at the moment. 21 minutes, 0 points. 0 of 6 from the field, only 3 rebounds. That's all he had. He started off the season on the bench being shitful. Started, was good. Went to the bench, played 30 minutes, was okay. Now I was back to being bad again. Now, I guess with Andrew Nembhard getting hurt in this one and not returning to the game, even though, I don't know whether they're going to go with Hield or what they're going to do in terms of that lineup situation, it's really hard for me to get super excited about Buddy Hield as a must-roster guy. I think you do hold him, but in a points league, I definitely would not bother in a 12-team points. Would not bother. What we did see, though, is Nembhard out, that TJ McConnell is absolutely back on the menu as a 14-team league option at least. 16, 4, and 9 in 22 minutes. He actually shared the court a lot with Halliburton. 37 minutes for Halliburton, 26, 9, and 11 with a 1-1, while Miles Turner had 13 and 4 with 2 blocks. We also got a huge performance from Isaiah Jackson. Played all of the backup center minutes, 18 and 9 in those 20 minutes. He's at least a 14-team league option, while Sticks, maybe he just... I thought he was improved this season as a backup center. I think he might just suck again. Jesus, this guy. Every time this guy. 7 points on 30% shooting, 2 rebounds. If you want to drop, go ahead. Although I can see him going 12 and 10 in 25 minutes with 2 blocks next game. That could possibly happen. But he stinks, and just understand that, he stinks. Ben Mathurin, 25 and 13 in 36 minutes. This is the game that he is going to appear on the waiver wire trends tomorrow. Everyone's going to rush to add him because he scored 25 points and people like his game for whatever reason, and then he'll go back and have 7 points in 22 minutes. It does help that Nembhard was out here and Bruce Brown was out, so maybe we look at him. But I think at this point we've got a fair idea of what Mathurin is. He can score sometimes, and that's it. Doesn't really do it efficiently, doesn't do anything else. The 13 rebounds here are, as Sheev Palpatine would say, a surprise to be sure, but a welcome one. I would only consider him a stream guy, absolutely not a must-grab 12-team league player. Topham played 29 minutes with Sticks stinking, while Aaron Nesmith, we hate the 10% shooting, obviously, but he had 3 steals and 2 blocks. I don't really still know what to make of him. Is he a 12-team must-roster? He doesn't feel must-roster, but he's 66th over the last 2 weeks. But the role, it's 32 minutes, it's 27 minutes, it's elite shooting, it's piss-poor shooting. At the moment, he's just delivering in the defensive stats, but how do I trust that from a 6'5" power forward? He's playing small forward at the moment, to be fair. I think you do want to roster him, but man, I've got just absolutely no confidence in this whatsoever. And then maybe Bruce Brown returns next game, so who knows what goes on. For the Bucks, Yanni had a nice triple-double, 30 and 18 with 11 assists and 2 blocks. Lopez, the scoring came back, 21 points with 4 blocks, and Middleton had 21, 3 and 6. Real stinker from Lillard, though, 13 points on 19%. Who does he think he is? Aaron Nesmith. People are very quick to complain about Lillard's season. He's the 15th ranked player this season. You probably picked him at 10 or 11. That is just absolutely bang on. I know it's been a little rough patch here, but people are complaining about him left, right, and center. Go and try a buy low on it. Leaky Beasley played 37 minutes. He had some early foul trouble, but they played him through most of it. 12 points with 4 threes. That's who he is now. He's a points and 3 streamer. And Bob Portis, the fall off has been spectacular. He did have some fouls as well. 18 minutes, 8 and 5. The last 2 games have stunk. And that's what we saw for majority of the season before he went on this week and a half, 2-week stretch of playing 27 minutes a night and being a top 80 guy. We knew there was, or we expected, that's why I put him on the Sal High show, we expected there to be some sort of a fall off. And yeah, the fall off has fallen off. And that's what we've got with Punch Bob at this point. Don't really know that he's must roster. I guess you can hold, but I'm not going to suggest that you should. The Detroit Pistons, fresh off starting their new winning streak, got smacked by the Rockets by 23 points. Alec Burks is turning into a nice stream option for points and threes. 21 with 3 threes, a steal and a block. Don't do anything more than stream him in, but there you go. And I do think that we probably want to roster Jaden Ivey. I've said that for a little bit of time. 19, 6 and 3 with 3 threes. But this game was over so early, so the minutes are all over the place. If I'm going to celebrate Cade Cunningham having a good game, I've got to tell you that he was shitful. Another 19% shooting night. I say another because that's exactly what Lillard shot as well. 6 points is terrible. He did have 10 assists, so that helps somewhat, but no defensive stats, 1 rebound. Didn't hit a 3 and missed his only free throw. An absolute stinker of a game. Even including this, he's the 14th ranked player over the last 2 weeks. Boyan only played 27 minutes. Asar Thompson got 24, but the blowout was a real factor here. Do not need to roster Asar Thompson in 12s.
Get that garbage out of here!
Well, Duran just played the 22 minutes with 5 fouls. He had 12 and 13, and Kevin Knox started, had 11 points. Knox is at least a deeper league option for us, but that's about it. And you obviously don't need to roster Killian Hayes, who had 8 points in 19 minutes for the Rockets. Şengün just destroyed this team. 26, 4 and 9 with 3 steals, elite percentages, a fantastic game. Well, Jalen Green is back on track somewhat. 22 in 27 minutes with 5 threes, but you're heavily relying upon efficient scoring for him to be useful for fantasy, and that's just really not a bet I want to take. You can roster him, absolutely. I dropped him, haven't regretted it for a single second, but he could be better. That's true. The number one thing people are going to look at in this game is, Josh, you've missed it because Amen Thompson led the team in minutes. He had 12, 4 and 6 with 2 steals. He did. That is 100% true. I would not be adding Amen Thompson. As much as I love Amen Thompson, I think he's going to be better than Asar Thompson. I think he's going to be a future top 25 player in fantasy. The fact that he led this game in minutes is because this game was a blowout. And I don't think there's really anything else to it. He was very good here. And I do hope that he's taking all of Aaron Holiday's minutes and playing 20 a night. But that is just not the situation I want to be in to roster in a 12-team league. And I don't really see a very clear pathway to 25-plus minutes opening up at any point in the future. So don't get overly... It's great, but don't... Fred VanVleet plays 40 minutes a night. He played 14 minutes fewer than he usually does. Just think about that part of it. VanVleet had 15, 1, and 7, while Eason played 24 minutes. He's on a bit of a minutes limit because of his leg fracture. 17 and 4 with 3 steals is totally enough, but we're not going to get the big minutes from him. Jabari Smith returned 9.6 rebounds, while the wild thing, dropping in 16 points, Jayshawn Tate, in 26 minutes. We don't need to get excited about that. That is deep league stuff only. Get ready for a couple of blowouts now. The Charlotte Hornets, while being trash anyway, they are severely undermanned. The Nuggets beat them 111-93. The Hornets were without Rozier, Ball, Williams, and Hayward. That is 4/5 of their starting lineup. That's crazy. Let's talk about them though. Miles Bridges, who'd been a little bit down, was pretty good here. 26, 9, and 5 in 36 minutes. While Big Dick Nick, just keep going. Just keep rolling with him. 15 and 8 with the steal and block. I tell you what I'm going to see tomorrow is that he's going to be one of the most added waiver wire players because we've got somewhat of an update on Mark Williams. We go, better go and add him. Like, bro, we are 4 weeks into this. I'm sure this is going to happen. They started Bryce McGowans and Ishmael Smith. Ish had 10, 3, and 4 in 29 minutes. It does appear that Rozier is going to be out tomorrow as well. And Ball and Williams and Hayward. So it's going to be a lot of the same stuff. So Ish with 10, 3, and 4 is marginally interesting. Bryce McGowans with 10, 2, and 3 is marginally interesting. But the marginally interesting move would have been to add them before today so you could get a back-to-back in. So there's going to be other better stream options tomorrow. Brandon Miller, 15 and 5, 32 minutes. Like, he's been okay. I'd say was the best way of phrasing Brandon Miller's season. Okay. But the fact that I feel like his stats look exactly the same when players are in or players are out. And the problem is that when players return, he might lose 5 minutes a night. Like, for the season, he's 167th. Over the last 2 weeks, he's 173rd. Like, jack shit has changed. Nothing. It's the same stuff, irrespective of who's there, who's not. So he's just consistently mid at this point. And if I'm in a 10-teamer, I don't think that that's necessary to hold on. PJ Washington was shitful. 6 and 6 in 26 minutes. I probably would hold him, while Cody Martin starts off with a bad line, 2 points, but 6 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. Missed all 6 of his shots. If he plays tomorrow, there's maybe some use there. And of course, there's a million guys out, but you don't need to worry too much there. While Nick Smith had 5 points in 19. For the Nuggets, Jokic barely took a shot in the first half. He ended up with 13, 11, and 6 in 28. The headmaster, Jamal Murray, had 25, 3, and 7 with 2 steals. And Aaron Gordon returned from his canine inflicted injury. He had 10 points in 25, and Caldwell Pope 5 points with 4 assists. I will maintain, you do not need to roster Kentavious Caldwell Pope. And in points leagues, you 100% just don't roster him. 12 teamers. Peyton Watson moved to the bench. He had a steal and a block in 19. Just a little defensive stream guy now. Not a must-roster player. While Christian Brown had 9 with 2 blocks in 24 minutes. And Michael Ponder had 22 and 8 with 4 threes. Just midding along. He's been like, okay, nothing exciting. No real breakout potential, but he's been okay. But this was, again, just a real ass-kicking. Zeke Naji got minutes over DeAndre Jordan. Maybe they thought, we're playing the Hornets. Let's just see if we can get Zeke some confidence. He had 2 points in 21 minutes. I'm not sure that really worked. The next game also was a blowout. The Suns against an undermanned Portland team. Portland was without DeAndre Ayton, Anthony Simons, Duop Reith, and starter Toumani Camara. They did get Shaden Sharp back, but they brought him off the bench on a minutes restriction. And to say that was shitful was an understatement. 6 points in 18 minutes. I know he'd been really struggling before the injury. What's the point of this? What's an 18-minute restriction? What's that? Maybe he's just not healthy. He is very clearly veering into, we do not need to roster this guy. We're not there, but we're very clearly there. And I will break this news to you now, but I can't say it that way, but I think Scoot sort of figured it out. Sort of. 34 minutes, 17 points, 6 assists, 1 steal, 2 blocks. He just has to be rostered everywhere. Now, they could screw this up when Simons comes back and keep Scoot as the 4th guard behind Malcolm Brogdon for God knows what reason. But we got 34 out of Scoot tonight and 21 out of Brogdon. Yes, it was a blowout, but they kept Scoot in there. It's interesting what they're doing. As for Brogdon, 10 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists. I'm going to be very quick on the trigger to drop Brogdon. Very quick. If I see him play 24 minutes in one game, he's out of there. He just is not a player who's going to maintain value long term. People think that I'm saying this because I hate Malcolm Brogdon. You just couldn't be further from the truth. My point of it is that there's no reason for them to develop him or play him big minutes. He is almost definitely not going to be on this team long term. And when they're healthy, he just will not return enough value for you to hold on. So when I say sell him for anything you can get in the top 100, do it, because there is going to be a reckoning that comes for Malcolm Brogdon. You go, well, I guess he's shit now. And that is just going to happen. I feel very confident about that. So that's when I don't hate him. It's just that I look at organizational priorities and he's not on it. That list doesn't say give Malcolm Brogdon 30 minutes a night. Doesn't exist. Jeremy Grant, 15 points, 111. Rebounding legend, had 1 rebound. Well, Matisse Thybulle did his thing. 2 steals, 2 blocks. You know what it is with Thybulle. You stream him for steals, you get some blocks, and you're okay. Jabari Walker, who had been playing really well, didn't do anything here. 10 and 10 in 25 minutes. But remember, we are going to have a situation where Ayton is probably missing more games this week. So Walker and Moses Brown are probably the guys you look at. But why on earth did we go back to Moses Brown? Just start Ibu Baji, who played 23 minutes. He had 4 and 5. Baji, he had a block. That's a deeper league stuff situation, very obviously. But Baji was there. We can look at Jabari Walker as that deeper league player. Chris Murray had 6 points in 9-10 minutes, but they're always going to get cooked here. The Suns were without Kevin Durant, and Frank Vogel said something to begin with, and because he was listed out with hamstring soreness, and Vogel said something that makes me think, yeah, maybe not. Because he said, he actually tweaked it at the end of the game on Sunday, and we're just managing his strain, and we'll see what happens in 48 hours. Yeah, that's not good. I have no idea whether Vogel is embellishing, lying, misspeaking, whatever. But if you tweak it in a game, you miss the next day, and it's a hamstring strain, and you're old, it's 2 weeks. I'm not going to rule Kevin Durant out now because there is a very real possibility that Vogel misspoke, but I am almost certainly suggesting Durant is going to miss more time. So be aware of that. Grayson Allen, 12, 2 and 4, 2 steals and a block, continues to be a 12-teamer. Yusuf Nurkic, 18, 7 and 5. And they started Chimezie Metu. So if Durant is going to miss, which I do think is possible, Metu, who was the backup center, is starting power forward, 14 and 5. I don't mind a 14-team stream of him. Booker was really, really quite poor. 10 points in 31 minutes. He might be actually venturing into a buy low here. 94th over the last 2 weeks. In fact, we've got a buy low show coming tomorrow. I reckon you might see his name there. 6 assists on 25%. Eric Gordon only shot 40%, 12 and 3. Not great, but the point was to hold him for the back-to-back. If you want to move on now. And Beal, I'm really impressed with Beal. Back-to-back, 2 big games. 21, 4 and 1, 111. Could it be one of the worst disastrous picks that you made to begin the season turns out to be an absolute W down the end? We hope. We actually got ball minutes, 11 and 9 in 20 minutes. I don't think we need to do anything with that, but he played over Yuta Watanabe. We watched that one. Watch that one. It does help that Durant was out, obviously, but Nasir Littleface was available. They just didn't play him, which was intriguing. But Bol got minutes, so just keep an eye on the first Victor Wembanyama. Didn't really think the Jazz were going to lay a 40-pointer on the Mavs, and they did. 127 Utah, 90 Dallas, and Dallas was with Kyrie and Luka back. Luka played 34 minutes, had 19, 6, and 14. And I'll tell you this right now. Luka is not right. He does not look healthy at all. He had this quad injury since the World Cup. He's been carrying a gigantic load, giggity. He shot 30% from the field, 67% from the line, and just was not right. And I am very worried about what happens here. One of the reasons why I was not at all interested, even slightly, in drafting Luka Doncic in the top 4 of drafts was they have a 2-game week in the week that I suggest to be your fantasy finals, or if you're using Yahoo defaults, the first week of the playoffs. And to me, that's just a no-go. I'm not taking a guy top 4 who's going to play 2 games when there are other players who are very, very similar in Shea, Embiid, Halliburton. Right? Wouldn't do it with him. And in points leagues, Giannis in that mix too. No, but the other thing was he was entering the season limping around through every World Cup game. I go, okay, that's not great. Is this going to catch up to him? And I hope the answer is no. But I fear it might be yes. I hope not. Irving played 32 minutes, 14, 9, and 4. He just wasn't really having it. And then second half, Dante Exum started the first half. He had a heel contusion too somehow. Didn't play the second half due to the injury, and Jaden Hardy just cooked. Texas Cam Thomas had 17 points in 21 minutes with 5 threes and nothing else. If we hear that Luka has to sit or that Exum's out, maybe you could stream him, but I wouldn't be too excited about it. Derek Jones didn't do much, 6 and 3 with a steal and a block. I would still hold Exum and Jones for now. This game is just completely anomalous. There's so much weird shit going on that I'm not going to make a judgment on it, but it wasn't great. Lively had 10 and 6, steal and a block, absolute must-roster player. Or Timmy Hardaway, if you want to jack Tim Hardaway.
Get that garbage out of here.
6 points in 23 minutes. I would do it, but I'd like to hold to see what update we get on Exum and Doncic. Because we know what Hardaway is. He's a points and threes guy who can be extremely streaky. For the Jazz, they went with the same lineup 2 games in a row, which is pretty amazing. Someone tweeted at me, hey, you got to go pick up Simona Fontecchio now before it's too late. And my response was, like that Bugs Bunny meme. Like, no, I don't. But this is a good game from Fontecchio. 29 minutes, 24, 6 and 2, 2 steals, a block, 3 threes. Shot 63%. That brings him to 211th on the season and 188th over the last 2 weeks. So I don't care in 10s or 12s. For streaming for threes, absolutely no worries. This is the outlier game. Remember, if you add him after this, you do not get access to this game. It does not add to your stats. I'm not interested in adding him. I am interested in knowing what the hell do I do with Colin Sexton and Jordan Clarkson, because just when I thought, yeah, Clarkson came back all right, we can feel okay about moving on from Sexton, and then Sexton started out playing. All right, guess we can move on from Clarkson. And now it's like, all right, what do we do with Sexton? 19 minutes, 8, 3 and 6, while Clarkson cooked for a triple-double. 20 and 10 with 11 assists. And I think what I can say for most of this team is I just don't know. I just don't know on a game-by-game basis what the hell is going to happen. You can have Clarkson, sure. You can have Sexton, sure. You can drop him, sure. It's going to be all over the shop with consistent ups and downs, I think. 27 for Walker Kessler. I don't actually care that much he's coming off the bench. It is weird. It is confusing. But 11 and 10 with 4 blocks is fine. While Markkanen had 17 and played only 25 minutes. But what is interesting to me is that Keontae George played 29 minutes. Taylor Horton-Tucker didn't get a single one of them, and Chris Dunn played 21. So again, I don't care if Keontae George comes off the bench necessarily. I would prefer that he starts, but 30 minutes is fine. 14, 3 and 3 with 2 threes. Now, I think I would prioritize adding Scoot over Keontae, but I would definitely prioritize a Keontae. If we're going to talk rookies, I would prioritize Keontae over the Thompsons, Asar and Amen. He's worth a luxury stash. He's going to have some issues, but I like where the minutes are going. Olynyk had 7, 5, and 6 3 steals, which is still a good line, but how do I trust a man who's up and down like a yo-yo and plays 19 minutes, yet still produces good numbers? The answer is I don't. But what I do know is that I am jacking John Collins.
Get that garbage out of here.
15 and 5 in 18 minutes. He's just not doing enough. You don't need that in your business. Get him out of here. Easy. All right, let's do the last game of the night, and it was a day of blowouts, so why wouldn't we end with our 5th consecutive blowout? The Clippers beat the Heat beat the Heat. I wish I could say that I was beating the Heat here. It's the middle of summer in Australia, 2nd of January, and it is absolutely pissing down. I don't know if you can hear the rain in the background. It is teeming. Hope my balcony is still there. Anyway, the Miami Heat 104, the Clippers 121. Kevin Love, 23 minutes, 17, 4 and 3 with 2 blocks. Another good game. But they were without Jimmy Butler, Josh Richardson, Caleb Martin, Hayward Highsmith, 4 rotation players. What does it mean? I don't know. And same with the hottest 100 himself, Jaime Jaquez. 38 minutes, 15 and 4 with 4 steals. A very, very solid game. The 4 steals is awesome. I still think that it's a sell high. But when is this team ever going to be healthy? That's the problem. And if you believe in Jaime Jaquez, I've got him in one league and I'm rolling him out. But I still don't think that this is real as we move forward. Hero struggled, 12 points, but he did have 4 threes, 6 assists, and 2 steals, while Adebayo had some rotten percentages, 35 from the field and 69 from the line. That stinks. Oh, God, what's wrong with me? Anyway, 21, 15, and 4 in 36 minutes for Adebayo. They started a man by the name of Jamal Cain. He played 35 minutes, had 9 and 3 with a 1-1. It's him, it's Jovic, it's RJ Hampton. This is the trash that they are cycling through. They're back of their roster. I can't believe they won as many games as they have. Obviously, Spoelstra is the GOAT coach. GOAT is the wrong term. I hate when GOAT gets overused. Although, why not? He's the best coach in the NBA at the moment, but their roster stinks. I don't think we need to hold on to Kyle Lowry. The double-cheeked-up legend had 8 points in 24 minutes with 3 assists. That stinks. If you wanted someone else in there, do someone else. And the Spur himself, Dunky Robinson, another strong game. Now, I'm annoyed that they don't push him to 33 minutes because he was killing it as a starter, but maybe they just don't want him and Hero together on the court much, which is understandable. 15 points, 3 threes for Robinson. He is worth a 12-team league roster spot for now. For the Clippers, the big fella Kawhi returned. He had 24, 6 and 5, 4 steals, a block, 2 threes. Guess he never left. That's unbelievably good. Jimmy Harden had 15, 4, and 10 with 2 blocks, and Paul George 23, 3, and 2. Just more of the same from the big three there. And this is what we wanted to see. Would they go back to reducing Russell Westbrook's minutes when Kawhi Leonard was out? And yes, 18 minutes for Russ. He had 8, 4, and 3, 2 steals, and you can...
Get that garbage out of here.
Storm and Norman Powell got hot in this one. 22 points, 2 steals. That's great. He shot 82%. We know what this is for Powell. You can take cracks at whenever you want. He can sometimes give you points and sometimes he gives you nothing. In fact, shout out to Gennaro Gattuso. That's what he does. We don't add him. We stream him. We try it. We move on, blah, blah, blah. You just don't have to hold on to Norman Powell. There are a million guys that can pop off like this whenever game. Mason Plumlee was available to play. Well, he was cleared to play. They didn't use him. They used Tice instead. I do expect that Plumlee gets that role back at some point, but we don't need to care too much. Zubats had 6 and 12 in his 29 minutes. And that is the end of the games. We will let's bring it back in to have a look at where we're actually at now when in terms of a recap of the streams of the day. Not bad results. The 10-team stream was Derek Lively, 10 and 6, a steal and a block. I think that's pretty okay. Your 12-team stream of the day was Big Dick Nick Richards, 15 and 8, 1 assist, 1 steal, 1 block. Just the low roster number on him is insane. If it jumps up 15% tomorrow when I look at waiver wire trends, I'm going to lose my mind. He's obviously a must-roster player. Derek Jones, 14-team roster guy, or 14-team stream option. It was bad for the Mavs. 6 and 3 with a steal and a block. Not particularly strong there. The 16-teamer worked all right. The wild thing, Jayshawn Tate, he had 16 points with 3 rebounds and a steal. And then your points leagues was Nick Richards. Yahoo, he had 32.1. And ESPN, he had 34, which are very, very strong overall results there. Let's now go to look at the monstrous line of the night. This one, I guess there's a couple of contenders we could have gone with here, but in the end, we did settle on the big bloke over in Milwaukee, Giannis Antetokounmpo, 30 points, 18 rebounds, and 11 assists. It is somewhat controversial, but the young gun of the night is the same player as the waiver wire line of the night, and the reason I say it's controversial is that the it's not supposed to be Giannis. What am I doing? Is that the player's not all that young, but he is a second-year player. So Simone Fontecchio gets it. He's the waiver wire and the young gun. 24 points, 6 rebounds, and 2 steals. Shot well. Has been in a solid role for a while, but hasn't really sniffed the edges of stuff. Sure, 16-teamers, no worries. 14-teamers have a crack, but that's really about it. And then lastly, we do head to the dud of the night, and there is no way you're debating this. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your familial background. I don't care what it is. There is no one who is coming at me to tell me that Buddy Hield was not the dud of the night. 3 rebounds. That's it. He didn't do anything else. 3 rebounds. A stinker of a game. I'd be inclined to consider a drop. I probably won't do it just yet, but I am very, very close. Let's take a look now at the top 6 players for the day. We're, of course, going to start with category leagues, and number 1 was Yanni, followed by Donovan Mitchell, Tyrese Halliburton, the delicate dancer, Alperen Şengün, Pascal Siakam, and Anthony Edwards. The way I said Siakam there makes it sound like I don't know how to say his name, but I was also trying to imitate that BBC World News lady, and then I got that wrong, so it just made me seem like I screwed it up. His name is Pascal Siakam, and she called him Pascal Shakim. So, yeah. L to me, I guess? Yeah. Anyway, Pascal Siakam, number 5. Anthony Edwards at number 6. Your top 6 players rostered in under 50%. Number 1 is Simone Fontecchio. Then Norman Powell and Alec Burks, who are points and 3 streamers. Kevin Love, like sure, but how do I trust that? I don't. Stream him in deeper leagues, I guess. Amen Thompson, love it. Love saying his name, that he is going to be an absolute fantasy staple for years, I believe. But I'm not adding him in 12s. And the last one is Kelly Olynyk, and I'll tell you again, no idea. Absolutely. If someone asks me, what do I do? Do I add Kelly Olynyk? I'm going to throw a fick at them. F-I-I-K. And by now, you've deciphered what that means. Because I don't know what to do with these rotations. So, Kelly Fick Olynyk, he was the 6th best player there. The Yahoo Points top 6 players, number 1, of course, is Giannis Antetokounmpo, followed by Halliburton, Donnie Mitchell, Kawhi Leonard, Alperen Şengün, and Utah Jazz legend, Jordan Clarkson. So who's on our little checklist now to wrap the show up? I think we've got to go and add Immanuel Quickley, as my water bottle's in the shot there, as I've changed the display there, so I've moved it out of the way. Immanuel Quickley, you've got to add Nick Richards. What are you doing? You've got to add him. No hassle here. Scoot Henderson, I think we've got to add him. I'm going to tell you that if you did drop Precious Achiuwa, get out of here, move on. And Kentavious Caldwell-Pope is just not someone that needs to be held on to. There are many other ones we could have gone to. A lot of different decisions in Indiana there with a little bit of stick stuff. Maybe he moves on, healed, all that sort of stuff. McConnell is a streamer, but they're the main 5 ones I think that are worth mentioning here to finalize this show. And that, as Obi pops his head up there, is the end of today's show. Guys, be double bangers. Is your New Year's resolution? I know it is. So go and watch the YouTube, go and listen on the audio, hit subscribe, hit thumbs up, leave your comments down below. Guys, we are done here. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. See ya.